welcome to another episode of the Create Smarter podcast. I am here with Jake and Connor today, and we are here to talk about everyone's favorite topic, AI. So obviously it was a big topic of conversation in 2024, and as we go into 2025, we want to talk about how it's going to help us in our jobs, how it's been impacting our industry as a whole, and you two are kind of our resident AI people and talk about it a lot in the office. So we wanted to pull you in here. So to start off, I kind of want to just talk about and ask you guys how you have been using or playing with AI recently at work.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's new things every day. So even like the other day, I used a brand new part of the software we use that uses AI technology to remove filler words in an interview. And it did it seamlessly. Like it's just, it does blow my mind. There continues to be more and more things that come out and definitely help our daily, day-to-day, whatever editing it may be, processes. There are good things and bad things, but continually finding new things, it's been fun. It's been a journey.
Yeah, I agree. And just to expand on that, I think, it's not something that I think we've adopted yet into our workflow. I wouldn't say that, but I think keeping your ear to the ground just to see what is new, what's coming around the corner, what have people, on YouTube, on Reddit, on whatever you read, what have they found? What cool tools can they use, And I think that in our industry specifically, if you want to look at it in a couple of different ways, 5.2 does a lot. For editing, there's different tools every day. Like Jake's saying, there's a lot of fun little stuff you can play around with audio-wise, video-wise, things like that. I think for producing, this year I've used a program or two to help storyboard, to help, throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks, like just for ideas. I know our colleague Kyle uses ChatGPT a lot for marketing. He looks at what's the percentage in the Northeast region of whatever for, this specific market of people, and how do we sell to them, like stuff like that. So I think AI as a whole is a very interesting thing to keep your eye on and just keep checking, keep tabbing through pages and reading. I think research is a big thing because a lot of it could be flash in the pan, could be not very useful, as cool as it may sound. But I think I'm excited to see where it goes from here because it's not going away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like AI is a big term, right? And so like, when we actually break it down and think about it, like what have we actually been doing at work or in our lives that is actually AI? Because I think Connor's right. Like it's not something that we use at work all the time. But when you think about it, it's like, oh, when I extend music in Premiere and have it fill out the rest of the song to the length I want it, that's AI. And so there's little things that like, at least I've noticed here and there that I'm now registering like, oh, that's actually what AI is. I think one that we have started to use a little bit more now is the art list voiceover feature. And I know that our colleague Colleen likes to play around with it and make it say funny things, but it's actually really helpful. And tools like that are making our jobs just that much easier, right? Yeah,
it's the ease of the ability to instantly have a well-generated voice, speak a script out that we needed and be able to do that super fast turnaround if need be with a project. Just the ease of being able to do that, like those little things. And I think Connor's right. Like, do we use it? Sure. Is it fully adopted into our workflow? Are we, when in the process of making videos, are we always thinking like, oh, we've got this in our back pocket. Let's go to that. It's definitely not at the front of our minds, but it's always in the back of our minds. That's what I would say currently with where the equipment is now and where the AI is now. I think as we move forward, it's going to eventually kind of creep up more to the front kind of parts of our mind and how we think about, creating our content. But for right now, I do think it is taking a back seat, but we'll let it drive if it needs to every once in a while.
Yeah, and I think if you go back to the very first time we talked about this, I think it was you, me, and Tyler, or whatever it was, I think we mentioned, find different ways to use it as a tool, don't use it as a crutch, and I still think that stands, and I think it will stand until something blows our socks off. But I also think that it's going to be a lot of behind the scenes. I think that if we were all programmers, if we could talk to the code, if we knew what was going on behind Premiere Pro or whatnot, I think it's probably groundbreaking, but to stuff like us, it'll just roll out in a monthly newsletter and be like, hey, press this new sparkly button and you can get better audio. And you're like, all right, cool. Like, I don't really need to think about, like, I understand a lot of the hype and it's been almost a year of this now and it's not going away, which is fun. But it is, at the end of the day, you're like, all right, like if it makes my job a little easier. But again, not a crutch. I'm not going to go on the top of a building and record an interview, because, I can throw it into AI. No, it's because there's no reason to challenge ourselves or make ourselves let AI pick up the slack. It's like, let's do as best as we can as workers, or what do you want to call it, as professionals, and then say, how do we make the edges a little smoother? How do we make this sound a little better? How do we make it look a little prettier?
Yeah, and you always have options still too. Like I had mentioned the artless voiceover stuff. That's great because then we don't have to then go source somebody and pay
100%.
somebody to do voiceovers, and we can just do it ourselves. But to your point, it's a tool. Sometimes maybe it doesn't sound great, so we're still gonna explore other options. But it's an option we can use, right? Like we can edit audio ourselves or pick a different place for an interview, but we could also run it through the enhanced feature and see if it works. 100%. And it's just, if it doesn't, that's great. But it's something that we can try and play around with and then see if it works. Is there anything that you guys have played around with or tried or heard about that doesn't work well so far for you guys?
Yeah, I think specifically in the field of video, AI is not where everyone thinks it is. It's still has many years to catch up before it becomes a very viable option in video. I think everyone is really attached to this idea of, make me a video of a monkey playing a guitar on the moon, and like, boom, there they go, they get it. And that's just not usable interchangeably with footage that we have captured. That's just not there, and it's going to be a little bit before it gets to that point. However, there is still new things that are coming out that could possibly be used within video as a space. One thing I know we were talking about is Adobe recently came out with like a generative expansion for video, and it only adds about 10 frames per clip for a video. Again, it's maybe there's a use case for it. I just don't see it yet. And maybe there is a time and place where it's used, but it's not at a level where, anyone should be freaking out. Like, the video is over because the AI robot is here to take over.
Extra second of my clip.
Yeah. Well, Connor and I were talking about it. He was like, why would you ever use that? And I was like, well, I feel like, if there's like, you just need it to be a little bit longer just to kind of like edit on beat or something. It's helpful, but you've tried it and it like doesn't look great.
Yeah. I mean, people are tough. Hands, face, those types of things are really difficult, for an artist to draw, let alone a robot to generate in front of you with code. Those intricate features, the way they move and the way they interact with the environment, the AI is just not at that level yet, and it's not. I'm not saying it's never going to be. I 100%. There will be a time. It's
still in premiere beta, like it's not officially a thing.
Yeah. It's not there yet, and I think we have plenty of time before it is there, but nothing to panic about.
Yeah,
by no means.
I was watching somebody on YouTube talking about it and trying it, and they were talking about, you can kind of hide some of these things, like if it's a frame for a transition, which is a good point. Like if you're transitioning to another clip or using some kind of other transition, like you're not really noticing the changes in the footage, but then at least it just like lasts under that transition for a little bit longer. So
that's a great point.
Maybe that's the only use case so far.
But I think it's also something of what's to come. Saying that it's in beta is, I think why they're doing it is like, is this useful? Like some of our people made it. Do you guys want it? Like, does it work? Did you find
we're
use
just
cases?
gerbils.
Yeah, and maybe the next 3, 5, 10 years, whatever. 1 second could be 5 seconds. 5 seconds becomes 10 seconds. But then by then it might look amazing. You never know. But I agree. It gives you the option. It gives you the choice. It gives you, you could use it. If it makes sense. It's not like you have to. Back to what we were talking about.
And clearly we use Adobe. That's all we talk about. Adobe Firefly, I think, is what it is. That was a scheduled AI that was supposed to have the power to generatively remove things from video, generatively add things to video. If I'd be like, put a pocket watch in my hanky, whatever it may be, put a pocket watch in my pocket. Yeah. Give me a pocket first. But that idea of, putting stuff in video, it was something they were trying to push, and they were saying that it would be out, I think they were saying like summer of this year, and it just kept getting pushed back. And now they rolled out this beta, and so there's so much testing that's going on. They need to test with the end user. They need to see what they think and what they will use it for, and what they can possibly use it for. So it's got a long way to go in regards to that, and just being able to use it regularly and using it viably.
Yeah, so it's interesting, as people that obviously work in video, we like live this stuff day in and day out. So I want to talk about AI from a useful tool for people that don't do video, but also people that do video and put commercials on TV, Jake. So I guess we'll start there. You've seen some things that Coca-Cola's been doing.
Yes.
Totally AI generated commercials, and we have some thoughts.
Yeah, if you've watched your Sunday football, Coca-Cola had a whole winter campaign, the classic Coca-Cola, Christmas commercials. They've been doing it for years. The modern day image of Santa is from Coca-Cola. Like, they are, sorry kids, they just, that is their brand. It's a huge part of their brand. And so this year they decided for their campaign that they would generate through AI videos to put on television. Mixed feedback. A lot of people they just have this very uncanny feeling about them. They just don't feel right. And it's very obvious to the trained eye that these are, bad proportionally, like your size proportions. You'll have a truck roll down a street and there's people standing on the side of the street and they're the same height as the semi that's going down the street. Like, so it's those little things that we see that we're like, woof, whoa, that's rough. That's harsh. It's jarring to us. Maybe not to someone who doesn't work in video and doesn't view video the same way we do. However, it's excuse me. From a consumer, just like a regular person, you were kind of getting at, someone who doesn't work in the video field, it is quite amazing to see how many new programs keep getting released. I think, if we were first discussing this idea of generating AI videos via, a sentence, there was a program we had looked at. I think it was Pika, Pika, which that put you on like a two-week wait list, and then maybe you could get access to it. And so eventually we did get access to it. And that was, really, really cool on our end. We were like, wow, this is no use for it. But now every, like you were saying, keeping your, eye out for new things. Every single day I look, there's a new program. So they keep releasing new programs with AI video. So they're trying to push it clearly to, a person who doesn't work in video and be like, hey, like, this is a thing. What use you get out of it, I don't know. Maybe a 10-second clip for a TikTok. I don't know. I don't really quite get what the use case is for it yet, besides, hey, this is kind of fun. Yeah. Yeah, but no, it's interesting. There's been a huge push for AI video, but not in the video world.
Yeah, I think, the big word that I always go back to is spectacle. Like, it's a trend. We're talking about 2025 trends and AI trends, and it's like, it is a trend. So right now it's the hottest thing, and if video, even if it doesn't look good, what are we talking about right now is the Coca-Cola commercial. And the other thing that I want to say is, which it will, I think, become a bigger topic once it's more utilized in, pop culture and marketing and all that stuff, is transparency. If you watch that commercial, in the bottom left corner, it says made with blah, blah, blah AI. Now, I showed you a music video earlier today that was entirely AI, and nowhere in the video, nor in the description, whatever it said, it doesn't warn you, this is all AI, by the way. So it took me a couple clips and I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, that lobster's talking, whatever. That lobster doesn't dance. Like, so I think that's going to become a big thing, because us as consumers, we just assume that we have the right, and that these corporations need to tell us they're using AI. And they're probably like, no, you don't. Like, I just cut off my whole, this whole branch of animators now. Like, I can do this, of course.
Yeah, and, nobody ever tells you, like, oh, this is CGI. Like, you kind of just have to, like, figure it out.
Yeah, you don't go see a Marvel movie and you're like, what?
Right.
Like, he didn't really fly? Because it's like, we don't, I'm not trying to get, like, I'm not saying, like, we don't have the right. It's like, but they don't need to. There's no law that says, but yet, right? Like, they might. Yeah. Right? If you're trying to sue somebody on a nature documentary, that might be a bad use. But this Coca-Cola commercial is like, no wonder. Like, I'm surprised more people aren't doing it. And I think that I think we looked at it and we're like, this looks so bad. I don't think they really cared. They probably weren't going for the best. You know what I mean? The best shot there is of a dog, you know, but if everything else has that kind of watercolor painting, misty, dreamlike, I think that's the vibe they were going for. And, you know, I think if they didn't put the watermark on there that said made with AI, I think people would be like, what are you trying to sell us? But the fact that they were like, we know, like, this isn't the best. Like, by the way. And then my last point is, I think something Phil mentioned earlier was like, people, I think that some people think that AI is just a big red button that you can just push, you know, and like you're saying, with all these new variants, new programs, there's 100 of them that do the lowest, you know, low bar AI stuff, and you get 15 credits per your account, whatever.
Yeah,
But if you go in, I'm sure if you went into whatever room that was made in, there's probably a couple people, you know, putting their head together, like training that application and prompting it correctly to get the Coca-Cola branding and the colors they want. And like that, I think people don't understand the skill that is developing. Now that is a new skill that people need.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's people right now putting some hard work becoming the best at that, you know, because like we work every day to be better video people, better editors, better producers. But, you know, what we're not doing is how do we prompt an AI generation? Because, you know, a client could come to us any day and say, hey, we want that look, and we can't give that service. So I think there's people out there that are saying this is not going away. This is going to become big, and it's only become better. I mean, the Coca-Cola versus the Muse video, night and day. Because...
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, excuse me. What? Because they're looking for different end results, you know?
Yeah.
So it will be very interesting to see. I think you're going to see it a lot in marketing, a lot in advertising, super cheap, easy to make voiceover, you know, stuff scrolling through your phone that you're like, ugh, you know, 3, 2, 1, I can skip it. You know, stuff like that they don't even care if you're paying attention. They don't want you to download that app that doesn't actually exist. You know, it's all money, and it's all going to be FaceTime, and it's all going to be deception, and we're all screwed.
It's getting really dark here.
Oh my God. But it'll be very interesting to see where it goes. And,
The last thing I want to mention, we were talking about, you know, obviously big companies like Coke are using it, but on the flip side, I know you have kind of played around with it a little bit, Connor, but I was looking at some of it yesterday. Canva AI. Canva is another tool that we use from time to time, mostly for just like marketing for ourselves and less for clients. But I was looking at it yesterday and trying to figure out like what the use case is. And so I was learning that you could put in prompts, but also upload videos that exist. So from an actual applicable client side of things, like, you know, if we have a bunch of B-roll from an event that we give them, they can use it by uploading it to Canva and writing in a text prompt, and it'll create a video using the videos that we've had so that, you know, they don't have to hire us to edit a video and things like that. But I know that you've played with Canva just like for fun too. Do you see a use case there?
Yeah, definitely. I think, Jake, you mentioned kind of pushing it more towards the consumer, like they want us to use it and stuff, and which is great. I think that Canva is a great example of, you know, they also have the photo generative, you know, you can make a space monkey playing guitar on the moon, but who's going to use that, you know? So if you're saying, or if they're saying, okay, we know people, you know, can get to about here. They can film video, they can have the video, but they just don't really know how to put it together, and they don't want to pay someone else to do it, or, you know, they don't need to pay someone else to do it. That's another thing too, is like, you don't, you know, if I'm making an Instagram story and I have a couple of clips, I don't need to pay this huge bill just to have a better video. So I think Canva, what they're doing with the video AI specifically, but the big differentiator is it's not generative. You're using, like you mentioned, you're using footage that you did shoot. Like, that's awesome. And the only thing it's using AI for is putting it together on these templates that you can select and stuff, and editing and lining it up with the music and whatnot, taking all the hard part away, which is perfect. So I think as a consumer level product, which is free or very cheap, I think Canva is a great example of, you know, something anyone can just pick up and use while using AI.
Yes, exactly. So clearly, it is not, AI is not going away in 2025. It's a big thing in 2024. So we're going to keep talking about it. But for now, we're going to stop talking about it, and we'll end this episode here. It has been Jake, Connor, and Marissa. We will see you next time on the Create Smarter podcast.